Well, folks, sometimes life hits you hard and it hits you fast. So, unfortunately, that meant no show for us last week. But we are back here on the Terranadome. NFL legal tampering and NFL free agency, that is all underway and it has been throughout the week. We will break down the biggest signings around the league and also talk about all the moves made here for your New England Patriots. Also, it's been a week since the Bruins did what I hoped they wouldn't do when they traded Captain Brad Marchand. I won't be holding back in my criticism of the organization there. It's a big week in the NFL, so Josh Morris, he's back on the show, and it's an all-new The Terranadome, and it starts right now. The Terranadome. Minnesota was doomed from the start. I mean, this was a ass whooping. There's nothing short of that. It was a complete ass whooping. But I will tell you what, my friend, nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. And it is time to get them back in the AFC Championship game. I believe that, listen, you're right about Derrick Henry, especially in cold weather. No one's going to want to tackle that guy. So it's going to be imperative for the Buffalo Bills to jump out early in this game and get a lead and force Lamar Jackson to have to play from behind. They can do that. They're going to win this game. Mention things that we love to hear, like we're getting the entitlement out of our team, and we're going to earn the opportunity to come into this building every day. I absolutely love that. One thing I will say for sure, yes, they definitely need to go and spend some friggin' money. They're going to have the most cap space in the league, and I'm going to kill them every week on this show until they spend money. The Terranadome, and it starts right now. Well, folks, welcome back to the old Terranadome. It's been a couple of weeks. I apologize for that. I'm feeling a little bit rusty. It's a big time in the NFL. So Josh Morris is back on the show once again. He's been clamoring to get back on. Josh, you can do that big wave again when you say some words because the camera did not see you. Do go ahead.
I'm back. Let's do it.
You didn't even do the big wave then. You missed it.
Oh,
No.
I'm sorry.
No, but you got to be talking because the camera's focused on me, baby. I don't really know why, but
You are the moneymaker. You are the moneymaker.
yeah, right. This show's not making any money, pal. So, but thank you for the support, everybody, the subscribers, everybody, and yeah, we do have ads up on the videos now, but no, my friend, the show is not making money. So, we're just doing this because we enjoy it. So, my friend, we were just discussing this before pre-show, but NFL free agency is where we're going to start today, and it's basically going to be most of the show. And you were kind of talking about how like it seems like in compared to recent years, it's been very very active.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a fan of the NFL, it was like you were looking at your phone all day, every day, like who's getting signed, who's getting moved. It was a lot of fun to watch.
For sure, and we're definitely going to break down a bunch of those moves. First, I guess we'll start with some trades. Your 49ers, this is probably a week and a half ago now, but they unload Deebo Samuel only for a fifth round pick in return to the Commanders. Are you surprised that they didn't get more?
I'm not surprised they didn't get more, but I'm surprised they did the trade because they still have to eat a bunch of dead cap where you could have just cut them and saved more money. So I don't understand the point of trading them. Now, Washington ate $17 million of his salary, but they still ate a bunch of dead cap for next year. So I don't, for a fifth round pick, it doesn't seem worth it. You might as well cut him.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel as well. And we will get into the 49ers cap situation a little bit later because they have been they have, I believe, lost the most players in free agency so far to other teams. So we'll get into that. And we'll also get into the New England Patriots a little bit further down the line because the Patriots have actually been extremely aggressive, at least on one side of the ball, not so much on the other. So, some big things going on around the league, though. We'll start off where we talked about the Deebo trade very quickly. He goes from the 49ers to the Commanders. We also had Geno Smith, quarterback for the last 3 years for the Seahawks. He goes from Seattle to the Las Vegas Raiders, reunited with Pete Carroll. And that was when Geno had his best year in Seattle, was with Carroll still there. Speaking of the Seahawks, they weren't done by a long shot. They trade wide receiver DK Metcalf. He asked for a trade and he got a trade all right. He goes to Pittsburgh for a second round pick, plus a sixth and a seventh round pick swap in the 2025 draft. And then Pittsburgh backs up the truck and gives him 5 years for $150 million. Josh, he's now the third highest paid wide receiver in the league. What do you think of that one?
I think between him and George Pickens, I don't know how that team's going to function. That team is going to be a revolving drama reality show. It's going to be insane, and they don't even have anyone to throw him the ball yet.
Well, you mentioned that. That's a nice little segue because the rumor has it that it's seemingly the only suitor for Aaron Rodgers. 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers might be the Pittsburgh Steelers. So
He might be
imagine
the one to ruin Mike Tomlin's streak. He might be the guy.
it's the perfect storm of crap. If you're a Steelers fan, you've got to be rolling your eyes at this. I mean,
Absolutely.
if I'm the Steelers, I'm thrilled that they got Metcalf, but having Metcalf and Pickens in the same room, that's definitely a possible issue. Pickens is
And
nuts.
does that foreshadow the departure of Pickens, right? They haven't paid him yet.
Right, yeah, I think it could. I think it could. It's just he's a hard one to gauge because what how much money does he lose just by being a complete head case? You know what I mean? And how you know what I mean? Who's going to pay him?
He kind of reminds me of AB.
Yes, and well, not the same. I wouldn't say the same type of receiver, but on the field, but similar in that they're both they're both way out there.
And they're both highly talented. They're both highly talented receivers who can't get out of their own way, it seems.
Yeah, it is. I mean, Pickens is definitely, I think, a little quieter, but his body language is like way worse. So, Pittsburgh knows how to pick him. I mean, look at what happened with Deontay Johnson. He's still out there. He's probably the most talented receiver left out there at this point, but yet he was with three teams last year and they all kicked him to the curb because he's so bad in the locker room. So these were Pittsburgh draft pick. I'm just saying they picked these guys. I mean, Tomlin, yeah, he can control these like crazy personalities only for so long. You can only contain crazy for so long. Trust me, I know. So, but third highest paid receiver in the league. Steelers get their guy, and yes, I do think it's quite possible that he ends up getting the Pickens ends up getting the boot as a result. More Seattle stuff, Josh. Big D, Sam Darnold, baby. He still got paid. He still got paid. It's a nice little bridge deal for him and for the Seahawks. 3 years for 100 million with 100.5 million with 55 million guaranteed for Darnold. So despite those last two games, for Minnesota, there he still gets a nice chunk of change there. Not too shabby.
I mean, 33 million is never anything to scoff at. But I mean, technically, he still did lose some money because he could have been looking at 40, 45, even 50 million if he has a deep run in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, just as those last two games, like we said, basically that regular season finale against Detroit was a playoff game, right? Because that was for the number one seed. And also, yeah, I mean, his line definitely let him down. We went over this at the time. But yeah, he still cost himself some money. But again, good bridge deal, I think, for Big D, Sammy D to Seattle. And then finally on the Seattle front, we're jumping the timeline a little bit here, but just going to go over it now. Last night, Cooper Kupp comes to an agreement, the wide receiver formerly of the Rams. He'll be 32 this year. He goes 3 years, 45 million to the Seahawks, to which me and a few of my fellow Patriots fans were a little bit pissed off about. But the guaranteed amount is not known. But what do you think of what they're trying to build out there in Seattle? They lose Metcalf, they lose Geno, they bring in Sam Darnold, they bring in Cooper Kupp.
And they also cut Tyler Lockett, long
Right.
time standout for them.
So they have
Interesting signing for sure within the division, which is interesting. I wonder if that's why Cooper Kupp stayed on the West Coast because he wants to stick it to LA. I think he was really spurned by them. He really didn't want to leave. So I can't wait to see those two games where they're going head to head.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I just hopefully for his sake, he can stay on the field, right? Because that was the thing where people like would ask you, like potentially coming here, like, oh, what do you think about Cup? And it's like, I'd love it if you were going to get like 14, 15 games out of him, you know?
Yeah, it's really tough when those guys turn 30. I mean, I remember Julio Jones, absolute stud. He turned 30, he just disappeared.
Well, yeah, because I mean, they rode him into the ground in Atlanta with Matt Ryan throwing on the ball 15 times a game every game. So Cup does actually, I believe he had 2 years and 39.8 million left on his deal with the Rams. So he did lose money in the deal. So yeah, he's probably trying to stick it to him. That's a good point.
Well, and from what I read, because I follow a lot of the NFC West guys, he offered to take a pay cut, and they said no, we're cutting you.
Yeah, that's a bit odd. Because even listen, I went to the game they played against New England this year, and he was healthy for that one. And trust me, he can still play. So I mean, I'm not saying he's lost a step. It's just a durability thing with him. So it's interesting, but that's got to be a Sean McVay decision. So yeah, we'll have to see about that. But still more big ones to go. Justin Fields, Josh, to the New York Jets. He took a guaranteed contract. I don't blame him for that. It's 2 years for 40 with 30 guaranteed. But he basically just ensured that he's never going to get a starting job ever again because he's now will have played for the two teams in the league where quarterbacks are guaranteed that they go to die. He was already in Chicago. Now he's going to the Jets.
Uh, I won't be picking them to win the AFC East this year. That's for sure.
Okay, no, that's fair. We're not going to pick the Jets for 12 wins with Justin Fields. Oh, and Daniel Jones is still somehow getting active employment in the league. 1 year, 14 million. That kind of feels like like it's a little bit of a knock on the door of Anthony Richardson there and just saying like, hey, this is a former first round pick and we're giving him big money. So if you don't develop and you don't continue to grow here in Indy, we might just turn to this guy who also sucks, but big money for a backup.
Yeah, well, I think the Colts, when they signed him, said we are signing him to go into competition with Anthony Richardson. So, I think, like you said, it's not a knock on the door; it's a kick in the ass. It's get it together, bud.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, because out of that 14 million, 13.15 of it is guaranteed. So that is definitely going to be a competition. That number screams quarterback competition to me. Now, let's get to some of the other wide receivers in the league, right? We first of all, about 10 minutes after the tampering period opened on Tuesday, Chris Godwin reportedly back to the Tampa Bay Bucks at 4 years and 88 million. And by the way, supposedly the Pats offered him 30 million a year. I'm not sure how true that is. Big money for a guy coming off especially coming off of a major injury. Then you've got Devontae Adams to the Rams, 2 for 44 with 26 guaranteed. And then it really kind of goes off a cliff here. We already talked about Cup. Josh Palmer to the Bills gets 12 million a year. That's interesting, but only 18 if it's guaranteed. 3 for 36. Darius Slayton, who honestly would not have minded if the Patriots went after that guy. Super underrated. 3 for 36, 22 guaranteed. And then we're talking about De'Ami Brown and Nick Westbrook-Akine. Another one I would have liked the Patriots to get is
All
NWI.
that kid does is catch touchdowns.
He's a home run threat. I mean, what was it, 7 games in a row or like 8 out of 9 or something like that
Yeah.
last year? So yeah, that's another one I would have liked. Miami got him for 2 years, 6.5 million total, 3.2 guaranteed. But out of the two big names there, Godwin and Adams. First of all, Godwin's only going to be 30, but off a major injury. And Adams, to me, looks like one of the best old receivers that's left in the league. And I think he's going to be 33, but he still looked good to me when he went to the Jets last year.
Yeah, and I was watching, I can't remember who it was. I think he was on the Micah Parsons podcast, and he was saying, like, if you talk to any receiver in the NFL, they still refer to him as one of the best. Like, the guy is just uber talented. So I think I didn't want to see him go to LA, so I was kind of butthurt about that. But and also I think I read from Schefter yesterday or this morning, they're already working on signing Jamar Chase, Cincinnati, and T. Higgins to long-term deals, so that'll be interesting. And the Godwin thing, he was tagged, wasn't he?
Last year,
No, they tagged him before the tamper period, and then I don't think he signed it, and they extended him.
I don't remember hearing about him being tagged, but I'll go with you on that. That's why you're on the show. You've got you're probably onto something. You're probably right. I just never heard that, but it would make sense. Nobody wants to be franchise tag. It's like, yeah, top dollar value, but still no guarantees of any future. Um, the the thing about Chase and Higgins being signed, I kind of want to call BS on that because I just think that owner's too cheap. And what are you going to do between what they going to shell out more than $500 million between Burrow, Chase, and T Higgins? I don't know if I see him doing that.
Yeah, and it doesn't make sense to me because you're going to let your best defensive player,
Yeah, Hendrickson.
Henderson,
Yep.
who wants out because they're not going to give him a deal.
Right.
So you're not going to pay the one side of the ball that killed you all year. You
Yeah,
lost because you didn't get to the playoffs because your defense stunk.
yeah, because
So you're not going to pay anyone on the defensive side of the ball. It makes zero sense.
yeah, it's just that's typical Bengals stuff right there. It's just they can never just get it quite right. They just their heads are firmly up their own keisters. They have a terrible owner, and so that never helps anything. But yeah, priority's clearly not in line there because it's not just Hendrickson. I feel like they're letting the other guys that are actually good on that defense are letting them go. And yeah, they didn't make the playoffs because they couldn't outscore. They couldn't outscore everybody last year, is what it came down to. Losing to a crappy Patriots team in week one because they weren't ready to go. That also could have cost them a playoff shot as well. Anyway, we've gone through the receivers. We're gonna get to the guys that are still out there in a little bit as well. I'm just running through some stuff here. Running back market's not really existent, Josh.
No,
Nobody.
more extensions than anything.
Yeah, and which I didn't even. Yeah, no, I've got some of those in there too, but like nobody got paid. And in fairness, there really wasn't a lot of good free agent backs.
Your
Uh,
boy Najee went to my Chargers.
yeah, I know. I figured you probably love that as a Chargers fan. He's not a good running back, but
Closet Chargers fan. Closet.
yeah, right. Closet. Yeah, he loves Jim Harbaugh. Just so, they definitely need the depth because we know Dobbins won't stay healthy. So I mean, 1 for 5.25 for Najee. It's fully guaranteed, so he's gonna have a role there for sure. Just never been impressed with him. He's 3.5, 4 yards in a cloud of smoke. That typical old school back. Um, the running back that got paid the most is Rico Dowdle. He goes to the Carolina Panthers 1 year for 6.25 mil. Then we have Ty Johnson staying in Buffalo, like Samaje Perine. Javonte Williams to Dallas, I find a little bit interesting, but Dallas once again cheaping out at the position, just 1 year for 3 million.
I was going to say they don't run the ball enough anyway.
They really should think about maybe getting another back in there and running the ball more. And Dowdle still, once Prescott was gone for the season, Dowdle ended up over 1,000 yards. A guy that was completely unheralded when he was drafted in 2023. Elijah Mitchell, I'm sure you're heartbroken that he's going to the Kansas City Chiefs 1 year for 2.5 million. That's a complete waste of money for them.
He can't stay healthy. The kid's talented. He can't stay healthy though.
He's never healthy ever. Kenneth Gainwell to Pittsburgh is a backup for under 2 million. Kareem Hunt stays in Kansas City. So Kansas City is content with a trio of Mitchell, Kareem Hunt, and Isaiah Pacheco. Nothing super interesting here. I don't really think there's anything really even worth discussing. The fullback market, Paul Ricard stays. Is it Paul Ricard or Patrick Ricard? Sorry, I don't know. He stays in Baltimore, gets a year, 2.872 million for him. And we will talk about this when we talk about the 49ers, but apparently they have re-signed your boy Kyle Juszczyk.
Juice.
So we will get to that in a moment. Yeah, it's just going down the list here. Jawan Johnson stays in New Orleans. Evan Ingram to the Broncos, 2 for 23. I think that's a sneaky good deal for them.
Yeah, he said, or the reporter said he purposely took a team-friendly deal to play for them. They loaded up in free agency.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like Ingram's talent quite a bit, but he's another one that has a hard time staying on the field. Um, now I'm flipping over to the defensive side. These are at least some of the bigger signings here. Josh Sweat to the Arizona Cardinals, 4 years, 76.1 million for the Arizona Cardinals, the defensive end, 41 guaranteed. This is a good player.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, he's kind of a beast. Good
I
get.
won't want to see him on the other side twice a year.
I figured that you would say that. So yeah, Arizona with a good get there. Then you've got some secondary stuff. Cameron Bynum to, I believe Cameron Bynum, a former Titan, I believe. 4 for 60 to the division rival Indianapolis Colts.
You talking about the safety?
Yes.
Yeah, he played with Minnesota last year, no?
Was he a Titan before that? Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah,
No, he
because
was
he was one of the ones doing all the dances,
he was a Viking the whole time. Yeah, no,
doing the white chicks dance and stuff like that.
yeah, no, I'm an idiot. But he goes to Indianapolis for 4 for 60 with 30 guaranteed. Then you got a trio of cornerbacks: Paulson, Edibo. This isn't good. I'm supposed to be better at this, but Giants 3 for 54, 38.5 guaranteed. Shavarius Ward to
Rooney.
Indianapolis. That's a good one. Not for you, but that's
Nope.
a good one. He gets 3 for 54 with 39.45 guaranteed. We also have Byron Murphy, a corner, going to Minnesota, and defensive tackle Jonathan Allen. Um, Chase Young stays in New Orleans, 3 for 51. Nate Hobbs to Green
$51
Bay,
million.
51 million. I did not get the guaranteed number, but they gave him 51.
That's
Uh,
crazy.
you think so?
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe I'm a little upset because when he came to the Niners, he was an absolute dud. So I don't know.
Yeah, he's bounced around quite a bit. He's it's only like his fifth year in the league. I feel like he's bounced around quite a bit, but he lands in New Orleans as a permanent home. Cornerbacks: Nate Hobbs to Green Bay, DJ Reed to Detroit, or is that a re-sign? Um, Javon Holland, the safety, to New York Giants. Anybody else in here? Grady Jarrett stays with Chicago, and DeMarcus Lawrence, who said something very interesting on his way out in Dallas. He goes to Seattle, another big get for Seattle. 3 years for 32.5 million, 18 guaranteed. And on his way out the door, what did he say?
What did he
He
say? I
said
know. I
Dallas.
only remember the clapback he
I,
said to
I got
Michael.
it. I got it. Sorry. No, I should have just kept rolling. He said, I love Dallas and it's my home, but I know I'm never gonna win a Super Bowl there. to which Micah Parsons clapped back at him. And then Lawrence clapped on Twitter, of course. And Lawrence gets back at him and said, "Yeah, maybe if you spent less time winning and more time being concerned about trying to win, something along those lines." It's always cute when guys do Twitter battles. So
Oh, it was great. He said if you spent less time talking and focused more on winning, it was
you just
great.
you might be you guys might win some more games. So we kind of go over that. Um, do you want to do who's still out there first, or do you want me to go over the fact that like half a dozen offensive linemen got absolutely paid because the league has an offensive line problem? I don't know which way you want. You know what? I'll make that call. So three guards, two tackles, and a center all got pretty big money. The Pats did sign Morgan Moses, as we talked about. Um,
Two of
but
them
like,
49ers.
right, yeah. So they lost
Jalen
Aaron,
Moore and Aaron Banks.
right. So they lost Aaron Banks to
The Packers, what was it, 3 years, 77 or something, or 4 years,
four
77?
four for 77. Oddly enough, only 27 guaranteed. So that's a little weird. A lot of incentives, I guess, in that deal. What was the other one you mentioned?
Jalen Moore.
Jalen
Yeah,
Moore.
30 million, right? 30 million for the Chiefs.
That's right. Yeah, I think how did I miss that? Okay.
Yeah, they signed him.
I don't know how I missed that. Well, either way. So my point is though, the linemen are getting paid like Will Freeze to Minnesota, 5 for 87.7, a guard. Uh
Wow.
Dan Moore is a tackle. He goes to Tennessee, 4 for 82 with 50 guaranteed. These are big contracts.
That's 20.5 million dollars.
For a center, for a lineman. But this is my point. These teams are starting to put a premium on these linemen because kids aren't coming out of college with the right technique or the right size anymore, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you should be getting paid if you're blocking the guy on the other side who's getting paid 25 million a year.
Well, I agree with that logic, but what I'm just telling you is that it seems to me like there's a lack of talent at those positions, and that's why these guys are getting such big money. A center, Drew Dahlman to the Bears, 3 for 42 with 28 guaranteed. A center, I get that one though. I kind of get a center getting paid. I don't know why more of them don't get paid.
Yes,
Patrick
center is very, very important.
Patrick McCarry is another guard to Jacksonville, 3 for 37.5, 22.5 guaranteed. All right. I'm actually flying through it pretty good, but here's I want to have a discussion about some of the guys that are still left on the market, if you will. And then we're going to get to our teams.
Sounds good.
So, 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback that's left on them. There is not another starting caliber quarterback left on the market. I'm sorry. I'm sure you'd still love Trey Lance, but not Russell Wilson.
I mean, come
Are you,
on.
bro? He's done. He's cooked. I mean, maybe he
And
isn't.
if you're going to say Aaron Rodgers can start, Russell Wilson can still start in this
I
league.
guess, but I mean,
You didn't say he has to be good, but I mean, if you're going to say 41-year-old who played like doo-doo can start, so can't the other one.
don't pick that thing up like that. It blasts your audio out, guy. What are you doing? Well, I know you want to make a point, but geez. Uh, so you got a point. So part of what could be, and I'm not saying that I don't know how true this is, but my barber is a Steelers fan. Been going to him for a long time. He's a Steelers fan. And he says that supposedly their offensive coordinator, Arthur Smith, would not let Wilson call audibles at the line of scrimmage. Now, Russell
Aaron
Wilson,
Rodgers will not do that. He will not play for
no, no, he won't. But the other thing is, don't you think that might be why Wilson struggled so bad after a while? Because let's face it, Arthur Smith's really not that great of a play caller. I'm sorry, but he's not.
Look what he
Um,
did in Atlanta. No.
no, absolutely not. Well, that was where I was going with that. But Wilson, how stupid do you have to be? Is probably going to be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah,
Probably.
and at that age, he's
He's
probably seen more defenses than Arthur Smith.
yeah, of
So, like,
course.
if
Of
he sees
course.
an advantage, something he can exploit, he should absolutely be able to switch the play.
Right. So if that's true, like then why wouldn't you give him the freedom to do that? Because he's one of a handful of those old quarterbacks that are still left that can still tear defenses apart when he's on, and it's
Mm.
because they've seen everything. That's the bottom line. Even if it's only for a couple games, like even Andy Dalton came in for one game last year. Your big victory with the Panthers in week 3 there, but he lit it up for that one game, and then he turned back into Andy Dalton. But you get my point. So those two guys are still out there. Pittsburgh supposedly interested in Rodgers. So what does that leave Wilson with? Are we talking about the Giants, or are the Giants going to go get like Shadou or Sanders or Cam Ward or something like that? What do you think where does that leave Wilson?
Yeah, so he's going somewhere. He's meeting somewhere today, and then he's going to New York tomorrow. So I'm trying to think, where did I read he was going today? Who's quarterback needy? Oh, it's gonna kill me.
Hmm. That air's always good. No, I'm trying to think too. Um,
Russell Wilson. I literally just
Cleveland,
read it like an
Cleveland,
hour or
right?
two ago.
Cleveland.
Yes,
I kept
yes,
hearing
yes.
Cleveland. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. So Kenny Pickett goes to Cleveland, and now Russell Wilson's going to follow him over there too. Yeah. Because Watson's probably out this year, right? Because he retore his other Achilles, or he tore his other Achilles,
Yeah, he
right?
ruptured it while he wasn't wearing a boot or something like that, right? Because I
Yeah.
from what I read, it was Cleveland was possibly, going to use that to get out of their contract
Right.
because, he wasn't wearing the proper protective gear or whatever, and he hurt himself. So I was reading that they were going to use that to kind of snake their way out, but they restructured his deal anyway. So I don't think he's going to play. And if he does, they're going to look for any excuse to bench him now.
Yeah, because he's clearly lost it. Definitely not the same guy, but it probably most likely wouldn't be out there this year. So Wilson to Cleveland or the Giants kind of makes the most sense to me, those two spots. So I don't think Russell Wilson wants to retire yet. So
And
uh,
I also read that Minnesota has thrown their hat into the Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes. So we could get the Brett Favre
oh
arc
my,
that we're looking for.
I need the full Favre. I need it so bad. I need that. Like, inject that into my veins. I need Rodgers to do the full Favre. That would be so cool. I mean, it would be horrendously bad, but it would be so hilarious. I would love it. Um, but then if that's the case, what was the point of picking JJ McCarthy? Like, was it 6th overall
I mean,
or 10th overall?
you
Whatever it
picked
was.
him. I think they had full intent of, him starting last year. And then of course, he blows out his knee. So at this point, if you're O'Connell, you're probably looking and thinking, if I can get a Hall of Fame quarterback with this core, because that team is very good. I
Yes.
mean, I would say, on paper at least, Rodgers is better than Big D, right? Like, I think we agree with that.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't, but I think most people would look at Rodgers and be like, yeah, he's
They
better.
would, they would. Yeah.
Um, can you
Yeah.
imagine him and Justin Jefferson? I mean, that would be pretty legit.
I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing what it looks like. You
Yeah,
know, they also have Jordan Addison's another number one on the other side.
absolutely.
Yeah, they're loaded. That's really what they need. So that would be interesting at 41 years old. But to be honest, if you looked at Rodgers' numbers, and granted, this was after the Jets were already well out of contention, but if you look at his numbers to finish the year off, he had pretty good
He
numbers.
was pretty good. But I mean, again, it's one of those things where we kind of look at the eye test and go, he looked like crap most of the year.
He would show flashes in the games that I would watch. Like he would make like three or four of those, like Aaron Rodgers, like only he can make those throws. And
Mm.
then at other times he would be terrible. Yeah. So that could also just be a Jets thing, though. So who the hell knows? The Jets are the
Could be a
Jets.
Jets thing. It definitely could.
All right. So that is interesting. Those are the two guys, the two older guys. We will see where they land. I've got five wide receivers six wide receivers, I guess, to ask you about. I'm gonna save my pitch for the one I want last. Let's start with Tyler Lockett, a division rival of yours. At 30, he'll be 33 this year. I guess he still wants to play. What kind of market would the 49ers kick the tires on Tyler Lockett?
I wouldn't mind it. The guy was always a thorn in my side while I was watching the games. Um, I would say he's probably going to go to a younger team that needs mentoring. Like Carolina. I could see him going to Carolina. They have Leggett. Let him put him under his wing and show him the way to be an NFL player. Like I see him going to a team like that. I don't see him going to a contender, unfortunately, unless the team he goes to, maybe the Bills or someone, is gonna just be like, hey, here's $5-6 million, like 1-2 years, whatever. Because again, 33 as a receiver, it's very tough to maintain, durability and performance.
Yeah, I think it might be the performance thing that's an issue with Lockett because to be honest, he's better at any receiver in the league that I've seen in a long time of just catching the ball and getting down and not getting hit. He does it so
Mm.
well. So that would be Hmm. Yeah, I think your point's valid. I mean, when you describe a situation, that also holds true of the New England Patriots. So, we could use a guy like that, but I don't see that happening. Let's go to a complete basket case. Is there any market for Deontay Johnson, who's only going to be 29 next year? Is there any market for this guy at all after whatever he pulled this past season?
So what do you play for, 3 or 4 teams this year?
I think it was four to be
Carolina, Pittsburgh.
Carolina.
I mean, he never played for Pittsburgh, but he started the year there, right?
No, he started in Carolina. He was on Carolina last year.
So Carolina, Baltimore,
Yep.
and then who else? He played for someone else and got cut. Like I don't even think he played.
Texans.
The Texans. So
They
he
never
played for
played
three
him.
teams,
Yeah.
and
Which you
I
never hear of. You-
and you never. I don't even think he caught a ball with two of
no.
the teams. Um,
No.
I don't know if anyone would. I mean, man, 29 years old. I mean, someone will. The Chiefs will. Like the Chiefs are the type of team that will take a chance on talent, but obviously character lacking.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, basically, if you a requirement of the Kansas City Chiefs is you have to have some type of felony charge at some
You need a
point.
character flaw to play for Kansas City.
Right, so that kind of makes total sense. Deontay Johnson of the Chiefs. You heard it here first on the Terranadome. He's Josh Morris. He's my NFL guy. I'm Scotty T. Of course, we are back, and we still got it, or at least he does. So that's good. So yeah, that makes total sense, though. I mean, if they could take on Kadarius Toney, I mean, they can take on anybody, right? So,
Right? I mean, they still have Kareem Hunt in their backfield.
oh, they just re-signed him. I mentioned that a little while ago. They re-signed him again. He's been averaging 3 yards a carry for the last like 4 years, and they just keep bringing him back. So, a girlfriend beater, whatever, it doesn't
I was
matter.
going to say 1 kick to the stomach, 3 yards a carry.
There you go. Now that was a kick to the stomach right there. All right. So next up, we've got two 32-year-old receivers. I'm gonna mention Keenan Allen first. Certainly has had a great career. Never been one to be durable, and certainly now that he's getting later into his career, he's having all sorts of problems staying on the field. Do we think he's lost a step? Do we think he can still be valuable? If so, what kind of market?
Step wise, I mean, I don't know if he's lost his step. He's always been more of a hands receiver, like never the quickest, you know what I mean? More of
Yep.
a possession receiver. So unless a team wants to give him like an incentive laden deal, like where it's like, okay, you play this many games, you get this many catches. I don't see him unless he's going to take a super team friendly deal. I have heard rumblings that there might be a reunion with the Chargers. But other than that, I can't see someone. Again, I don't think he played a full year last year. He was
Didn't.
injured,
No.
right, a handful of times.
Yep.
I don't see anyone given, and it seems like most of these receivers we're talking about, they're on that back nine. You know
Yep.
what I mean? They're all older. So I don't see anyone giving him maybe like first couple weeks of the season, someone gets hurt, you might see him, but I don't see before training camp.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm pretty much in agreement with you on that. So, kind of on not really a similar note because they're two completely different kind of receivers, and Brandon Cooks really hasn't had a durability problem in his career. But Brandon Cooks at 32 years old, Dallas let him go. Just within the last 24 hours, Scott Zolak, who's very tied in with the New England Patriots and's on the radio here 5 days a week, was starting to make a pitch for Brandon Cooks. So I'm a little bit nervous that the Pats might be interested in bringing him back. He was here in
The year
2018.
you guys won the Super Bowl, right?
Yes, that's correct. And he was very instrumental. He was also here the year before, and he made one of the most boneheaded plays I've ever seen in the Phillies Super Bowl, and it cost them dearly. So at least he redeemed himself with the following year. He was here for 2 years. So I think the wheels are still pretty good on him. He's just not that great of a receiver at this point in his career. I don't know. The wheels are there. But what kind of role is he gonna have?
I mean, I kind of look at him as a poor man's Lockett, like kind of same type of receiver, not like super
Faster.
twitchy, not he can block too. Like he's known to be a decent blocker.
I've seen
Um,
that. Yeah.
so again, I same kind of role, like more of a mentoring kind of thing, third string receiver, something like that. I can't see him signing anywhere for decent money. And again, probably more towards training camp, more towards, all right, this guy just tore his ACL and OTAs, like something like that.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you on that. But like I said, apparently there is some rumblings around here about Brandon Cooks. So we'll have to keep our eye on that. I'm going to make a pitch for one of these last two guys here, and you probably know which two guys that I'm going to say. First one is Amari Cooper. He's going to be 31. I think he needs the right fit. I don't necessarily think he's slowed down. I don't think Buffalo was the right fit for him. And anytime you got a receiver that gets traded midway through the year and he comes into different terminology and all that, it's just I think Cooper might still be able to go. I'm not making a pitch for him. But what do you think there?
Yeah, I mean, I think someone will definitely take a chance on him. He did have a down year. He was injured a couple times last year with the Bills and with Cleveland. Um, but I think the kid is still super talented and someone's going to take a chance on him for sure.
Yeah, I'd love it if the Patriots would because I don't think it would be that it wouldn't be that costly. But I'm going to say something that's a completely insane and no one's going to agree with me on it. And I'm going to say it right now. But the last guy on that list is Stephon Diggs, 31 years old. He just put out video literally within the last 24 hours on his Instagram of him training. He's 4 months post ACL. He looks pretty damn good. I think he can still go, but we all know that he's nuts. We all know that he's a huge problem in the locker room and a huge problem for quarterbacks. But I am imploring you, New England, you still have money out there. Go and get Stephon Diggs. I have officially lost my mind, but get Stephon Diggs to Foxborough immediately. This is the this I think it's just him and Cooper that can still be impact guys that are left. I know he's off the ACL, but the dude is still a freak. He was having a really good year in Houston, even playing second fiddle to Nico Collins. Get me Stephon Diggs on a plane to Foxborough, or I'm sorry, to Logan Airport. You know, the meme. Oh, just Stephon Diggs spotted at Logan Airport. Give me that. I need that. Tell me why I'm wrong.
Because he's psycho. He's an awful locker room guy. The guy just I don't think he spent more than like 3 years in a place. He and coming
That's
off the ACL at 31, that is tough. I mean, you're right. He could still be an impact guy, but I mean, if you don't have to shell out a bunch of money, and you probably won't have to because of the fact that he's coming off an ACL, you could get away with it. But I mean, if he wants money, I couldn't pay him, knowing that A, in 2 to 3 years he's gonna demand a trade and start whining, and B, he might not be the same player coming off that ACL.
So I'm just fact checking you here, and it's not a nice move, but since you're disagreeing with me, 5 years in Minnesota and four in Buffalo. So there you go on that. And you said he's a psycho. Maybe that's why I identify with him so much, and I actually want him on the team because he and I are just alike. So come on down, Stephon Diggs. Come on down, buddy. I don't know if you ever saw the bit back when he was in Minnesota where they were like, "Who's the guy you would least want to date your sister?" And they
Oh
all
yeah,
picked Diggs.
all those
That
said Stefan.
it was hilarious. He was like, "What? Why? Hmm? What are you? Why? Well, I'm a great guy. You know, he's hilarious. Get him here." And then in 2 years, give him a 3 year deal and cut him after two because he's gonna bitch his way out of here. So, um, okay, so that was the interesting stuff. Now we're going to flip to, first of all, left tackle Cam Robinson's still available. He's only 30. Patriots just signed a right tackle. Morgan Moses is 34. Pats, hello? Are you out there? Or are you just going to take Will Campbell with his T-Rex arms at fourth overall? Because that's a guy I'd like you to go get. He's still out there.
Yeah, and
Another
linemen can play for a long time, man.
Exactly. Like, here's another one. You may be familiar with this guy, Joseph Noteboom, who's a tackle from the Rams. I trust someone coming out of McVay's system probably knows how to play. He's only 30. Pats. But we'll get to it because the Pats have done a lot of good things over the last week, I'd say. Also still out there, free safety Marcus Williams. Marcus Williams, of course, is the guy that screwed up the Minnesota Miracle play where Diggs caught the touchdown and he went to dive for him and completely missed him. And when Diggs went right over him, he's available. Free safety. Pats don't really need safety help. I'm not being biased and only talking about the Pats here. Ton of good corners left, Josh. We've got James Bradbury, Jeff Okudah, Kendall Fuller, and Rasul Douglas. They're all still available. Um, what do you think of that corner market? Why are they all still available?
I don't know. I feel like once you get past those like first 2, 3 days, there's that big lull, and I wonder if teams are waiting for the draft to see if they can get younger talent, not have to pay these guys. I mean, you saw what Philadelphia did. They had two rookie guys in their their defensive backfield. They win a Super Bowl. And then they just traded CJ Gardner. They let Slay go. So I mean, that I think the youth movement in the NFL is kind of taking over, not to, foreshadow what we're going to speak about in a little bit, but the Niners are kind of seeing the same thing where you have to get younger in the NFL because the inflation of these contracts, you can't keep a team together forever.
Yes, of course, and even with the cap going up in the next few years, that still holds true. That's a good point by you, sir. And yes, those two kids in the Philadelphia secondary weren't just there; they were important. Cooper
Yeah,
DeJean,
no, absolutely.
especially, but a white cornerback finally is back in the NFL again. I didn't mean it like that. I just mean you know what I mean. There hasn't been one in like 20 years.
Jason
So
Sehorn is the
Jason
last one.
Sehorn. Yep, that's right. So, um, I'll close it out with this. There are three pretty good linebackers out there too, and then there's Matt Judon. I think Matt Judon's cooked. Um, I think we knew that kind of going into last year. They got a third round pick back for him, which isn't too bad considering. I think Judon's cooked going into his age 33 season or 34. But Zadarius Smith, Preston Smith, and CJ Mosley, all of them 33. But
And
they're all
CJ Mosley is no slouch. I'm
not at all.
surprised the
Yeah, not
Jets
at
don't
all.
look. It'd be interesting to see where he goes. He can make a difference for sure.
I agree with you on that, sir. Um, let's
And
do.
even the Darius Smith. I mean, that guy is a freak.
I know that one I don't get. I don't get that at all. Why he's still out there, but it's like you said, it's got to be that lull. Everyone on this list, with the exception of Jeff Okudah, who's a good corner, but he's out there, 26, and Marcus Williams and Deontay Johnson. All the rest of them are over 30. So, it's a young
Yeah, and
man.
all the wide receivers we spoke about over 30. Like it feels like if you're over 30, you're like blacklisted in free agency.
Does feel that way. I do think that at least Diggs and Cooper will probably I don't know if either of them's gonna get big money, but we'll see. I mean, I'd love if the Patriots would just take a shot on one of them. But let's talk about Josh's 49ers, folks. So Josh Morris is back on the show. First time since the Super Bowl. It's been just over a month, and I do appreciate him being back on the show. He's of course a diehard 49ers fan, but just like me as a Pats fan, he's very realistic. He's not an idiot homer that's like, oh yeah, dude, we're the best. F you, we're the effing best. I'm gonna kick your ass. Blah, blah, blah. He doesn't do that. So that's why I can have him on the show, because if he did do that, then I don't want him on the show. Sorry. So the 49ers have been, first of all, we're going to talk about the dead cap and how that's affecting them, because they have let a boatload of guys leave in free agency, and frankly, a lot of good ones, I think. Um, and they've really only made some like small moves. They haven't given any real money to anybody except a backup tight end. Tell me what's going on with your team.
Yeah, it's a youth movement. It's funny. I was like, at first when free agency started and I saw all these moves, I was like so heartbroken because a lot of these guys for the last 5 or 6 years I've been watching. I love them. Um, and it also made me realize if you look at the Niners' run over the last 6 years from their first Super Bowl to now, it would be dynastic if they had won those two Super Bowls. You know what I mean? Like they made it to the NFC Championship 4 times, made it to the Super Bowl twice. Like you don't see that a lot in the NFL. Um, and it's kind of like the two 1990 was it no 2001 to like 2005 Eagles, where every year they were in the NFC Champ. It was like the same idea. You just couldn't win, and you get forgotten. And what happens is you have all these guys that are uber talented, but you can't win with them, and then eventually you have to pay them, but you can't pay them all. So now you have guys like Dre Greenlaw, uh, Noah Tufunga, Jalen Moore, Aaron Banks. They cut Juszczyk just to re-sign him, which is the weirdest thing ever, but it is what it is. And now you're looking at 86 million in dead cap, the most in the NFL by like 20 million. It's insane. So now you have all this dead cap. You need to sign the guy that everyone in this area, or like this area when I mean San Francisco, if you're a Niners fan, you think this is the franchise quarterback. You need to sign him. You know, probably 45 to 50 million is probably where he's going to make, and that's okay. I'd like to see them front load the deal, front load it, eat the cap this year, because you know you're not signing anybody and you're already kind of swimming in it. Get rid of a lot of his hit now if you can, because I think going forward, if you can relieve some of that dead cap, which you're going to do this year with the 86 million, it goes down next year. You have 21 draft picks in the next 2 years, 12 of them in the first 2 rounds. Like you have a chance to get younger, get better, just like the Eagles did, right? They got younger last year. They win a Super Bowl. You need to hit on these picks, but this year might be a little bit of a down year. But I think with how the parity in the NFC West is, you might be able to still make a play at the division. So it's going to be an interesting year, to say the least.
Yeah, I see. You're throwing a lot at me there for sure. So yeah, I mean, just to rattle off the names, Aaron Banks, Travarius Ward, Talanoa Hufanga. That was
Talanoa Hufanga.
all right, I got it right. Dre Greenlaw is a tough one. Jalen Moore is a tough one. Javon Hargraves and Malik Collins are tough ones. Leonard Floyd, Isaac Yiadom, uh,
Mm-hmm.
Josh Dobbs and Elijah Mitchell, not so much, and Brandon Allen either. I'm not sure you're gonna miss Charlie Heck, the right tackle.
Nope.
Um,
I mean, even Jalen Moore was a backup, but still, I mean, he gets paid. So,
yeah, if you can play, you can play. I mean, there's not a lot of guys around the league that can, you know.
and to let their offensive lineman go, offensive line was one of the biggest issues we had last year. So it's interesting that they're just letting guys walk.
Right. And I mean, I think you sent me the all right, I've changed camera angles twice now, but we'll roll with it. So you sent me it earlier. They've what? Their guys have been signed elsewhere for what a combined it adds up
$321 million. That's more than the salary cap.
yeah, exactly. And I just mentioned them, it's like, 10 guys. So I mean, yeah, clearly the league values these guys quite a bit. But I just want you to know everything's going to be okay because you signed quarterback Mac Jones
Don't do
to
it.
a 2-year, $7 million deal, $5 million guaranteed. Mac Jones is your franchise savior. Well,
He's a franchise backup.
he's definitely a backup. That's for sure. Not a very good one either.
If
So
I see number 10 walking onto the field this year, I'm done.
just turn the TV off, brother, because you ain't winning that game. I'll tell you that right now. So, also Cuckoo Kachu, Demarcus Robinson to the 49ers, 2 years, 9.5 million with six guaranteed. He's okay as like your number three receiver. Um, he might be the number two right now. I wonder if they're going to address that in the draft. Also, do you think they're going to move Brandon Ayuk? Because I keep hearing stuff, at least on my radio airwaves up here in New England. I keep hearing stuff about trading for Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah, I mean the rumors are out there that the Niners were shopping Debo and him. Again, a kid coming off of an ACL, and you're paying him 30 million a year. So if you could get rid of some of that cap, I could definitely see them doing again. You have Jawan. I'd like to see them re-sign Jawan Jennings to a long-term deal. Jawan Jennings, you have Ricky Pearsall. So I mean, if you have Ayuk and you keep him, that's a pretty deep receiving core. And if you get rid of him, you did just sign Robinson. Maybe go get Tyler Lockett. I wouldn't be totally against it. You know, you got a decent receiving core. You still have CMC. You still have Juszczyk. You still have, in my opinion, the best tight end in football, in George Kittle. You still have a team. It's just, are you going to be able to protect? Because other than Trent Williams and Jake Brendel, who do you really have? You need to address the offensive line. And the defense, I'm not even close to worried about because you brought back Robert Saleh. I think you're going to see a drastic improvement in that defense.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I think it'll be somehow, I think the 49ers will have a better year than they had last year. Of course, when you go 7-10, 6-11.
11. But the Niners also have one of the easiest schedules next year.
Right, because that's what happens when you go 6-11. So yeah, so I expect a bounce back from them. I don't think you're going to be suffering for too long, although it'll be remain to be seen whether John Lynch can actually hit on some of those picks in the early rounds. I know that you are worried about that. I'm going to keep the discussion moving because, folks, technically, I don't know how many of my people even still listen to the show at this point, but I'm based here in New England, so we're going to talk about the New England Patriots. At the end of last season, told you I was going to kill them on this show if they didn't go out and spend money. Well, I'm here to say just a few short months later that I'm not going to kill them because guess what? They went out and they spent a bunch of money and they still have plenty of money left to go spend. But here's what they've done. The highest dollar value contract in all of free agency, Josh, signed by the New England Patriots. Which player is that?
The defensive tackle, right?
That'd be Milton Williams of the Super Bowl winning Philadelphia Eagles. He is only going to be 26. It's a 4-year deal for 104 million, 63 guaranteed. He's the highest, like I said, highest dollar value. This is a risky contract, but it's the highest AAV contract in Patriots history, which of course is crazy because you had Tom friggin' Brady here for 20 years, but that's a fact. So I love that because I never expected him to make that big of a splash. I would have been happy with all of the rest of the moves I'm about to tell you about. Carlton Davis is a very legit number 2 corner. He'd be a number 1 corner on a lot of teams. He gets 3 for 54 with 34.5 guaranteed. Jamar Chase is on the record as saying he is the toughest cornerback he has ever had to face. That's just Jamar Chase. Don't take it from me. Then they go and get 2 really good linebackers. Harold Landry, formerly with Vrabel and the Titans, 3 for 43.5, 26 million guaranteed. And this one I friggin' love. Robert Spillane, formerly of Oakland, the Raiders, whatever. 3 for 33 is a friggin' steal for this dude. This dude is basically the modern Vrabel. 20.6 guaranteed. They do go and get a right tackle, Morgan Moses, 3 for 24, only 11 guaranteed. And Matt Collins, listen, it's not enough, right? They haven't done enough on the offensive side of the ball. Besides Josh Dobbs at 2 for 8 as a backup, which I'm fine with, because he kind of plays a similar style to Drake May. So I'm not nobody's Drake, you know what I mean? But you know what I mean. Like he's athletic, he can move around. You know what? He actually showed flashes a couple years ago of being a decent quarterback, so I'm okay with
Yeah, and
that.
the guy's an astrophysicist. He's a genius.
Yeah, he's super smart, dude.
Super
So
smart.
He's wicked smart.
Wicked.
So we're happy that he's here. Mac Hollins is listen, they need to do more than just get the starting right tackle figured out because they just cut David Andrews for some reason, even though he wanted to come back.
Yeah, and they kind of hid that, huh? They kind of did it among the mist of everything going on. Just like quietly cut your captain. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of a D-bag move for
Yeah,
sure.
it felt a little dickish to me. I'm not gonna lie to you. I didn't like that one. Oh, the guys on the radio didn't get it either. But yeah, so he's gone. So they still need to address like left tackle, center, and you can never have enough linemen that can play. They certainly don't have enough in the receiver room. I do kind of like the Mac Hollins thing. Like, sure, character guy, like the team's gonna love him. He's not a great receiver, but he
You
did
haven't
have
seen you haven't seen his Instagram videos, Life Hack with Mac?
no, I haven't, Josh.
Oh man, they're pretty good.
I guess I'll have to check that out now because I gotta listen. Listen. I mean, the guy walks around barefoot, so I mean, he must know something that I don't know. Um, but all in all, I like what this Patriot. I like what they've done. They let go of Jacoby Brissett. Thanks for your service, Jacoby. And Jonathan Jones and Dietrich Wise, those guys were here for a long time. But they've signed 12 guys. Only one of them's a re-sign. They still have a lot of cap space. I like what they've done. It's not enough. You still have needs to address in the draft, but it's a nice start for the Patriots. I don't know what their exact cap number is because I don't think the number that I saw was accurate because of all of this right here. There's no way it should have only resulted in a $25 million loss on the cap. So, um, but I'm optimistic. They have a real coaching staff in place now. Whether you want to argue whether Gerard Mayo was set up to fail, he probably was. He also was in over his head. Certainly never going to be my favorite coach, whatever. Thanks for costing us the number one pick, you stupid jackass. But um, the future looks at least bright for now. I don't know if you agree with me on that or not.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if, they're shoring up the defensive side of the ball and they want to try to build the offense through the draft. You know what I mean? Have these guys grow with Drake May instead of, okay, free agent here, free agent here, free agent here, and then they never really assimilate as an offense because, now you see a lot of these younger quarterbacks. First year, it's a quarterback they draft. The very next year, they draft like a first round, second round receiver, top end talent, and those two grow together. You know what I mean? So I wonder if that's fourth pick. You could get that McMillan kid from Arizona. So maybe that's the route they want to go. They want to draft a high end receiver and go from there, and then maybe pick up some of these stragglers in free agency. But you definitely need to do something offensively. You're not going to win the games by just holding teams to 12, 15, 17 points every game if you're not scoring.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you. I'm sure that they're not done. I think Kraft is realizing like he's running out of time and he's giving them the green light to go spend that money. And I think they will. The fourth pick is interesting. I've heard that they don't want to go with McMillan. So that is a little curious. I wonder if they would trade back up into the late first to try to get him.
Yeah,
So
I wonder if that's because that would seem like the Patriots' MO. Maybe trade down 7, 8 picks or whatever and see who will give you a better deal and then see if he's still there. Because they probably have a couple guys they're looking at in that first round and go, well, if we can trade down 7 picks and get this, you know what I mean?
yeah, I hear you. So, Josh, I think we've had a very productive conversation here with free agency, and certainly we'll follow up on that. Plenty of news, plenty of chips still to fall in place here. So, um, I'm just gonna take the time real quick. Never really addressed. Just if you're good with it, I'm gonna move on to just one quick note.
Broken hearts.
Yes, on the NHL and specifically the Boston Bruins. I'm not going to do the entire NHL trade deadline. It was over a week ago now. I kind of missed the boat on that. But the Boston Bruins, in the midst of a lost season, they needed a rebuild. And yes, their general manager, Don Sweeney, who I absolutely cannot stand, especially after this, did a lot of good things at this trade deadline. That's the truth. He did. As the season comes to a close over the few weeks, I'll cover that. He did, honestly did. But not this part. You only got a second round pick back for your captain. A guy who was here for 16 years and didn't want to leave. You got a second round conditional pick. It could turn into a first. I think if Florida gets to the Eastern Conference Finals. So it may end up being a first. in 2027. So Marchand did want to raise. Brad Marchand is who I'm talking about. Your captain. Been in the organization since 2009. He's your captain. He's your guy. He's been here. Those of us that really started watching hockey again in those late 2000s teams and that 2011 team, that this was the last guy from that era. And he can still play. 37, but can still play. Listen, he can still go. And he was willing to compromise. He wanted a raise, but this is also a guy that's been underpaid his entire career. He was willing to compromise. So here's the situation as I understand it. I've seen multiple sources that basically confirm this. The team offered Marchand the same AAV, average annual value, that he's making right now. It was a 3-year deal, which is pretty sweet, at $6.125 million a year. Yes, NHL players don't make dick compared to other, the other leagues. They don't make anything. Marchand wanted to make as much money as the free agent signing Elias Lindholm, who they gave 6 years and $7.75 million per year average annual to. By the way, Lindholm has been trash this season. Awful. So Marchand wanted to be tied with the guy, the skater that makes the most on the team besides, no, I think Pastrnak makes more, whatever. He deserves that money, okay? So in the days leading up to the deadline, Marchand came to him with a compromise, and he asked them to meet him in the middle. That would have been that would have been like, basically, it would have been an additional 800,000, 12,500 annually. So for less than $2.5 million total, they could have kept Marchand here and let him finish his career as a Bruin like he deserved to be. Marchand's going to be a Hall of Famer. He is. That's a fact. He will be a Hall of Famer in the Hockey Hall of Fame, not jersey in the rafters, Hall of Fame. And they stuck it to him, and they said, "Pound sand. We're not meeting you in the middle. That's our bottom line." So Marchand turned around and said, "The only place I will go to is the Florida Panthers, who own your ass." So Sweeney said it's a retooling and not a rebuild. If it's not a rebuild, you couldn't have kept your captain around for another $800K because you already unloaded big time salary at this deadline because Marchand was the last domino. You mean to tell me for less than $1 million a year, especially with the cap going way up in the next 2 seasons, one over the other, it's going up twice. You mean to tell me you couldn't have made that work? Screw you, Don Sweeney. I don't give a flying crap. That guy should have finished his career here. I've gone on too long at this point on this rant, Josh. I feel like I'm not quite delivering on it. But do you have anything you want to add to that?
No, I'm like, just thinking about it makes me so sad. It just shouldn't have come to this. And you watched all those other trades happen, and you kind of felt like, oh, they're not going to trade him. You know what I mean? You watched all these other, right? Like, and then all of a sudden you get it on your phone. You're like, no, they really did it. Like it felt like you just got stabbed in the back. It kind of, remember when Ray Allen went to Miami?
Yeah.
Like it kind of, you know what I mean? It felt like that when and then you see Florida. You see Florida as the team.
Then your blood starts boiling.
You're like, no, this can't be real. Like you thought it was like, oh, you were just hoping that someone had typed it in wrong. It was just, it just shouldn't have come to this. It really shouldn't have. And it's his fault that it came to this. Sweeney.
I was gonna say,
it's his fault because of all. Before the show, we were talking. He's been in cap jail for God knows how long. So it's your fault we get to this point, and then you're going to trade the last piece of that 2011 team that we still hold on to because you guys have let us down for the past 10 years. And it's like, and that's how he goes out. It's wrong.
It is wrong. And it would be one thing if he was on his last leg and couldn't still play. Before he got injured, which, by the way, the last moment of him on the ice as a Bruin comes when he gets he gets boarded by a guy from Pittsburgh and he can't skate off the ice on his own. That's the last image of Marchand on this team. That's a joke, Sweeney. That's an effing joke. And you know what? It would be one thing if he couldn't still play, but he was on pace to score over 60 points this year. So don't tell me if they were willing to offer him even that same salary, they knew he could still play. So you mean to tell me for 800K a year. You couldn't figure it out. And it is your fault. It's always been his fault that they were in cap jail because they have to constantly trade draft picks to get guys because you can't draft. Screw Don Sweeney. Oh, and by the way, screw Cam Neely too, because you know what? They've consistently just haven't gotten the job done. But as soon as the trade happened, the very next day, the owner of the team comes out and says, nope, I fully support my boys, Cam and Don. So they're not going anywhere. So we can continue to crap on them. Josh, other than that, it was a great hour. Thank you again for coming on, my friend. Yeah, we'll have to reconvene, I guess, before the draft. By that point, I'm sure many other things will have fallen into place.
For sure.
And we'll, try to do some draft talk. Again, not my strongest suit. But we can certainly hack it up for a little while on that front as well. So thank you again, my friend.
Oh, of course. And one more thing, right? Last night, the unofficial start, correct, of baseball,
Ooh, how
right?
so?
Otani-san in Tokyo
Um,
series, correct?
no, that's March 18th, my friend. That's next Tuesday.
So they were in there. He just hit that bomb. That's spring training. They have spring training in Tokyo now.
I guess they do.
Oh, you didn't see the bomb he hit? Oh my God,
No.
he hit a moonshot.
Yeah, I'm not really surprised. I mean, he was too good for Japan, so he came here. So that doesn't really surprise me. But no,
But he's
officially,
playing that. LA is playing in Tokyo, correct? It's LA and who is it? Right? That's next Tuesday.
yeah, it is Tuesday, next Tuesday and Wednesday, and I should know that. I should know that. You're already on it. But yes, he is right, folks. Baseball technically opening day.
Oh, so Cubs and Dodgers.
There you go. So Cubs Dodgers, it'll be at like 6 a.m. East Coast time. For those 2 days, Tuesday the 18th and Wednesday the 19th. And then the rest of the league doesn't open up until the following Thursday, 9 days later,
27th, right?
March 27th. Right. So as per my tradition, I have taken time off of work to sit at home and put on as many baseball games as possible at the same time. Thankfully, nobody from work is, well, I know one or two people from work that may hear this, but I don't think that they're going to get me in trouble for that. So, putting up the outgoing email, not available. See you on April 1st. So, thanks for being on the show again, man. I appreciate it, folks. It is the Terranadome. He's Josh. Say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
There you go. We got his big wave in. That's all. That's really what we were trying to do. So, yeah, folks. Again, I apologize for the delay in between shows, but we will get back to them every week moving forward. I am going to Vegas the first week, at the end of the first week of April. It's a work conference. It's not all for fun, but
A little bit of fun. A little bit of fun.
well, we'll find some room for some fun, I'm sure. So, I don't know why I just said that because now people are going to see all this valuable stuff behind me and they're going to come try to rob me now. So, but we'll get a show out that week before we go. So don't have no fear, folks. We will be back next week on the Terranadome. So we'll see you then. Have a good one.